right. Welcome back to the Cardboard Corner. Every other Monday coming at you is Chris, Goldline Cards, and Che, ENS Sports Cards. Today, we have our special guest, Jason from Carolina Card Exchange. How you doing today, Jason?
Hey, I'm good, guys. How's it going?
Doing awesome.
Going
How are you
good.
doing today, Che?
Man, there's a reason we're 8 minutes late tonight. May or may not be my fault, but no, I'm doing good. It's my I got my first son turned 11 today, so
Nice.
It's his birthday. I got to spend all weekend with him. I had him this morning before we took him off to school. So good day, man. Good memories. I'm having a good day. Thank you.
That's awesome, man. See, I always say we're fashionably late because, we're just sitting here talking about practice. Not a game. We're talking about practice. So the first thing we want to talk about today with our main man, Jason, here are these awesome, incredible, amazing shadow boxes. Now, he made this one specifically for my wife. And the two requests we had was Yasiel Puig, he's right here, and not to use Raisel Iglesias, which you can see is not here.
Not there.
So Jason is going to talk to us a little bit about what he does, how those things come about. We're going to show some, and we're just going to have a good time here. So Jason, tell us about the shadow boxes and what goes on with those.
Yeah, man. So I'm only one half of Carolina Card Exchange. I am the social media half. So anything you see on Twitter, anything like that, it's me. But there's another one of my buddies that we've been friends for, 25 years. And we kind of came up with this idea together. And we've actually come up with a few ideas. It's just that this one's been kind of taken off on us. So we've spent the bulk of our time on this. But it just kind of came from, we were looking at all these cards and boxes and put away, and we're like, what's a way we could display these? Like, people that are into cards just love their cards. And like, you've got, 95% of your cards are just base cards, commons that are sitting in boxes or in binders somewhere. So, we were just kicking around a bunch of different ideas, and this kind of came to us of some different ideas of how to use those in combination with the team colors and logos just to display them. And took a few iterations before we got it right, but we've got it going pretty well now.
Yeah, awesome. Like I love the one that I have. I asked you if you even needed any cards. You said, no, I'll go ahead. I'll find them. If you need a specific one, I'm sure someone could send them to you. If it may be some rare ones that, I asked for a Yasiel Puig in a Reds uniform. He played for him 1 year. So if you don't have that, I'm going to have to send it to you. Is that something that happens typically where people have to send you stuff, or do you typically have the stuff, with you already?
Yeah. So if it's baseball, I can cover it, but still a lot of times people have certain cards they want to use. So I would say probably 60% of the time people send their cards. If it's another sport, I'm pretty limited on basketball and football. Hockey, I've done some hockey boxes. But between either the person ordering it or all these different people on Twitter that have hooked me up with, just cheap lots of whatever I need, there's no shortage of cards out there. So a lot of times it's just people that are like, no, I want these specific cards. And occasionally we get some that I personally wouldn't cut up, but people are like, no, I want this one. So, I'm here to serve.
I mean, do you think I should send you a whole bunch of Cody Bellinger rookies to make me one?
Yeah, man. So we talked about doing like a Trout update box and charging like $30,000 for it. See how that goes. I got a feeling it'd sit on the shelf for a while though. But no, I think like the one that comes to mind, we did a Milwaukee Bucks one that was really cool. And the guy sent me a vintage Oscar Robertson card. And I asked him like 3 times, like right when he said he was going to send it, I'm like, you understand, like I'm cutting this thing, right? Cutting it, gluing it, all that stuff. He's like, yeah, it's good. It's fine. I'm like, man. So then the day came and I'm like, I can't, this goes against everything that I was taught, like growing up, like you take care of these and put them away. And I asked him again, he's like, dude, I told you, just do it. Just go ahead and do it. So we did it and it turned out really cool. But yeah, it was a little painful. We had to get past that.
I imagine. I saw one you did recently and I'd seen one before, but you did an Eric Davis 44 that, I personally fell in love with. If I were going to order one, what's your typical turnaround time? I mean, are you backed up? So if somebody needs to order one as a gift for somebody, a family member, something like that, what kind of time frame are they looking at in getting it back?
Yeah, if you need it by a certain date, I would say you're probably want to give us 6 weeks or so. Sometimes we can turn them around faster, but we get to like the holidays, and I had to cut off orders at Christmas last year on October 15th, and we still barely made it. So, but normally outside of the holidays, we can kind of shuffle things around to get them done, within 4 or 5 weeks usually. But between sending the cards or working out the details, I usually tell people about 6 weeks lead time.
Perfect. Thanks.
And we got a question from D Moose here. He said, which shadow box was your favorite to make, the Ricky or the Moose?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. Yeah, so I know the Moose box, which turned out awesome. He kind of let us just do our thing, right? He was just like, yeah, here, like, I've seen your stuff, like, here's a couple ideas I have, but just go ahead and take it and run with it. So that one was easier for us because we just got to say, hey, we're going to do this. The Ricky box, if anybody follows Kent, he knows exactly what he wants. He's like the biggest. I don't know if I've seen somebody that was a bigger collector of one person or player than Kent is with Ricky. So he knew exactly what he wanted. And that one was cool too, to like work through his vision, because it's not too often that somebody comes to us with like, hey, this is exactly how I want this done. And I mean, he was awesome to work with. But for us, the Moose one was a lot easier because we just got to say, hey, he wants Moose and we can do it however we want it. And he was pretty happy with how it turned out.
Well, I've got here some that I'd like to show on the screen here and kind of take us through the processes of a couple of them. I picked out a couple of Cubs, a couple of different variations where you have the cards on the front, some on the back, and then I do have the Moose one to show here. So first one I got up here is this Cubs.
Yeah.
Take us through this one and what's in the background, which cards did you use? Do you remember who you made this for?
Gosh, that was an early one. Of course.
Yeah, I took it right off the very front of your Twitter. So these are probably the first ones you made.
Yeah, and I think we've made I want to say we've made 175 of these now. Like it's quite a few. So this was an early one. And of course, me and Chuck is the other half. We're both huge Cubs fans. We're both from Illinois originally. So of course we had to start off by messing around with the Cubs. So there's two designs that we use, and I know you've got one later on that's the other way, but these are no.
Okay.
So if the cards are on the actual logo itself, that we just call that a standard design, and that works really well for any text-based type stuff. Some graphic logos it works for. This one's great because it's 3 different layers, and we can kind of bleed the cards over. Like you can see Hendricks and Arrieta there at the top, and then they go down into that C as well, which it's the continuity of it makes it kind of cool. So the standard design, we put the team color in the back, and then we put the cards on the actual logo itself. And then the inverse, we just do the opposite, where we craft a logo out of, we've done it out of fabric, we've done it out of vinyl, and then we use the cards as the backdrop. And, I think you've got one of those later that we can talk about.
Yeah, I just think it's so incredible how you have Chris Bryant. And I mean, he's his one card's on 2 different parts. That might be Kyle Schwarber right next to him. I can't really tell from here in the picture, but
we got Lester sideways in the middle on the B. That was a fun one.
And here we've got another Cubs one where you just did the W in the middle.
Yeah, the W flag. Like Cubs fans know the W flag really well. So this was one before we got kind of backed up with orders. We actually had some time to just kind of throw some stuff together just to see how it turned out. And that was one Chuck did. And it's kind of cool when you have something like this because you've got a lot of, surface space for the actual content of the cards. You're not just getting little pieces when you get a flatter piece like that. So it didn't use as many cards, but that was a cool one for content.
Right. And here's one where, is this an actual Griffey signature that you took from a card or everyone can tell what the swing is.
Yeah, so we just took, the iconic picture of Griffey and that swing and kind of made a mosaic where we hand cut the cards ahead of time. And then we just did a facsimile signature of his. That was the first non-team logo box that we ever did. We were just trying to do something different. We did that one over a year ago. That was a while ago now.
And we've got a Reds one looks just like the one I've got. Mine's with the white around the sides.
Yeah, so this one, the guy that ordered that one wanted the guys from the 1990 World Series team. So that one's got all of the cards on there were key guys on that team.
See, we've got the one you spoke about here with the cards in the front, and then obviously the ones with the cards in the back.
Yeah, so that one, the guy ordered it, and he just told us kind of do what you want with it, and I ended up making two, and we did one this way and one the other way just to show him, and he really liked this one, so he took it. But this is the design we use for if you have like some graphic-based logos. Sometimes when you put cards on it, you kind of lose the detail of the logo itself. This one was more about the space. The Reds one's challenging to get good content on the actual logo itself because the letters are so small. So we wanted to try one flipping it around, and that's one of the logos that works both ways. But there's some that you can only do the other way.
And Che, your boy Eric Davis is right there next to Jesse Winker in this one, so
I know it. I mean, that's he made this one with Chris and Che in mind, right? I mean, Jesse Winker right next to Eric Davis. It's beautiful, man. I'm a big Reds fan. I like both of those. I mentioned the 44 that you did earlier. These are just so impressive. I mean, I hope to get the folks watching this understand how cool these are, man. This is those are great. Those are absolutely great.
And then, I almost had to vomit in my mouth a little bit because I'm a Broncos fan. But this is just, I'm just looking through some of them. Just, the Kansas City with the Arrowhead logo. Then you got the different Mahomes in the background. Like, he perfectly set his head in between the K and the C. And then also like the snow in there. Like, to me, this was the most visually pleasing one as far as where each card was actually laid out, that I just had to put it in there because it just, like, how in the world did you make this? Because this was almost my favorite one that I saw out of all of them. And I like
hard for you to say.
Socks better than I like the Chiefs, and everybody hates wet socks. So
it's this was the first one we did, I think, where we used two colors. So we had, like, I love the black background with almost any team just because it makes everything pop and it just looks really clean. But we were like, hey, what if we cut out the KC and put that in red instead of what we normally do would be an all red and then just let that show through. But we thought it might offset. But yeah, the hardest part of this whole thing is getting the cards placed to where you're not cutting heads off or anything like that. It's pretty tedious.
Yeah. And then I had to put this one in there because this one I saw, was kind of like the Griffey, specifically for Cal Ripken Jr. You got the Iron Man in there, the consecutive games played, and it was one of my immediate favorites when I saw it.
Yeah, this one we did. This was actually the third one we did for one guy who has he's got a framed Ricky Henderson jersey, a Cal Ripken, and a Hideki Matsui jersey. And so we did one of each of those players to put under those in his man cave there. So we wanted to play around a little bit because the first one he did was the Ricky Henderson, and he asked for half of it, the 2 to be in Yankees and the 4 to be in Athletics. So we split the colors down the middle. So one half was navy and the other half was green. So we just didn't want to do 2 plain ones to go with it. So we did this one since it was a single number. We had some room on the side, so we used some vinyl and put it on the glass. And then the Matsui one, we spelled out Godzilla in Japanese and put it in like a translucent blue so you could see it, but it didn't like dominate. And that was kind of the front of that one.
We're getting a lot of comments in the chat. We got Tom says, they look so good. Eric Hecker says, I love every single one of these, regardless of team or player. They're all visually appealing. And, I agree. I'm not a Chiefs fan, but man, that Chiefs one that one popped. I'm not a Cubs fan, but the very first one we showed, that Cubs one, these are amazing. Buckeye Cardnut says, the Reds box is slick. So you're getting a lot of comments in the chat. These are, man, I just can't say enough about how cool these are. So
I appreciate it, man. It's one of those things, like, we were just kind of kicking it around like, hey, this would be something fun to do. And we take a baseball trip every year. Chuck and I do. And so we're like, you know what, if we could sell enough in a year to pay for our baseball trip, it's like $500 or $600, then that's a win. We get to do something fun on the side. And like, it's just blown up, and just to see people enjoying this, like, we're all fans, right? So when you see somebody get something that, they can just display wherever, like this one was for Kevin ordered that for his son's bedroom. Like, that's awesome. Like, to know that we've got this stuff hanging in different people's houses with their displays and stuff. Like, it's crazy.
Very cool.
Yeah, this next one, Moose is in the chat, but I see the front of it here. And then we've got like the intricacies of the antlers, then how they're actually laid out here. So how do you actually get these in, cut out? Are they on pieces of wood? Do you glue them onto? Like how does the production actually go into from this? You're looking at the side and kind of underneath here.
Yeah. It's a 3-step process for the most part. It's just the steps take a long time. So, I mean, the background is just whatever. We've used a ton of different kinds of, canvas, fabric, all sorts of different things just to kind of play around and see what turns out looking the best. And then sometimes you get kind of the unique colors. Like this is a hard color to find. So you just kind of use whatever fabric you find, and it always ends up looking okay. Like it looks good. So, and then basically it's just the cards and then mat board, and then it's measured out and it's mounted, and that's it.
It's just, they're just beautiful, man. I love them.
Yeah. I agree. They're awesome.
Yeah. D Moose says, my precious. So I told him we were using this thing in here to kind of, dive a little further into how they're actually made. So I'm impressed. Every single person in the comments is just, I don't know if you can read them or not, but he wants to gift me the Kansas City Chiefs one. And, I'd hate to waste your money. And, you love seeing them hanging in houses. And I took the Reds off my wall. I mean, the Chiefs one, does it make good firewood out back, or, I got a fire pit back there. No, I'd give it to Garrett or Parker or something. I couldn't burn something that beautiful. So, Eric Hecker's got a question. Do we send you the cards or the pictures to use, which we talked about earlier, but he might not have been here. You want to touch on that one more time before we move on?
Yeah. So if I have the cards, which for baseball I can cover pretty much anything, then I'm more than willing to use mine. Depending on the sport, like I don't have much football. So if you were going to do a football box, I'd probably either have to buy a lot and just have that on the bill or on the invoice when I send it out, or you could send them to me. So really it's kind of dealer's choice. Whatever you want to do as the person ordering the box, we'll go with it.
Awesome. I'm all out of questions. Shady, got anything else for him?
No, man. I mean, you've answered them all. Chris, you ask all the pertinent questions. I've just been sitting here just like in awe and just making comments about how awesome they are. It's just they're great. Is there people who follow you on Twitter? They can see them there. Do you guys have a website or anything? I don't know if I missed that earlier. Is there any place else that people can see like a catalog or a portfolio?
Not yet. We've got one. So we've got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and then all of the handles are the same for all three. We have a website that is about ready to go, but we've held off because we wanted to get caught up first. We didn't want to get inundated and then not be able to turn them around fast enough. People don't want to wait 6-8 months for these things. So it's pretty much ready to go. We just are waiting for the right time.
Cool.
And we got one more question in the comments. Is how many cards on average is needed to make a box?
Yeah, so it varies a lot. Like you showed that W flag, and that took 6. Then we've got some, like an inverse box takes 20 because you've got to cover the entire background. So I always ask for 15 to 20, and I always tell people they can include a priority list, and we'll definitely try to give, kind of like I did with Puig on yours, Chris, is, we just try to put the guys that they care about the most in the primo spots. But if you have, say we need 10 and you send us 17 or 18, that gives us some options to get the best possible layout so that we're not getting a lot of, knees and tops of heads and stuff like that on it.
Awesome. Before we move on to this Zion fiasco that happened on eBay coming up, do you have anything else you want to talk about with the shadow boxes tonight, Jason?
No, and I'm just happy to be here hanging out with you guys.
All right, Che. So you hit me up and you tell me about this, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And you tell me there's a big eBay scam involving a silver Zion PSA 10 and PWCC that Ivan had a super thread on. And I just want you to talk about a little bit. And I kind of read through it, and this is a very interesting topic to discuss what's going on in the scam zone.
Yeah, I mean, basically, anybody who sold on eBay has you've dealt with that buyer who, does the return. I didn't receive this item. Usually that happens on the PWE, something that hasn't, that hasn't tracked well. You send them a $5 card. They say they never got it, and they claim a return. Well, I don't remember the original poster, but my goodness, some dude sold a PSA 10 Zion Silver Prism rookie card for $5,400. And the buyer paid for it and said, hey, well, instead of shipping it to my house, ship it directly to my PWCC vault. So the seller sends it to the PWCC vault. The buyer tells PWCC to go ahead and put it on sale, put it up for sale. And then the buyer claims, I never got it. I never received it, and files a return. Apparently, and this wasn't made crystal clear, but it must have been that eBay sided with the buyer and issued a return. And then before the seller could state his case and say, hey, something's going on here, this is not right, the buyer closes his eBay account, just closes it down, says, I'm out. So, I mean, this guy, man, the cojones. Screw getting in eBay jail. I'm not worried about eBay jail. I'm going straight for a federal offense. I'm committing mail fraud basically on a $5,400 purchase. So the seller contacts PWCC and is like, hey man, you've got a card for sale on your auctions that I sold to a guy and he basically stole it from me, and PWCC's initial reaction was, not our problem. It's an eBay problem, and this is a kind of a testament to some of the good that Twitter can do, the power of Twitter. And if you got somebody like Ivan with 20,000 followers, Ivan, luckily saw the gentleman's original tweet and he retweets it. And so then, how Twitter does, they did their thing and kind of went after PWCC a little bit and bombarded them with, hey, what are you doing here? So within about 24 hours of Ivan's tweet, PWCC had taken that item off of their auction. So it is no longer available. The whole thing is still up in the air. Obviously, the seller has not gotten his money back. The buyer has canceled his eBay account altogether. So, I'm assuming the seller is going to have to go through the authorities in both localities, probably the buyer's locality, his locality. If I were him, I would definitely go through the Postal Service and file a formal complaint there, because that is a federal offense. And it's just crazy how this dude thinks he can get away with it, because if he had a PWCC vault and he was going to get paid from PWCC, they've got his information. They've got to. If he didn't give them the correct information, he would never have gotten the money from them. So he obviously has given PWCC all of his personal information. And for the life of me, I cannot get myself in the mindset or in that frame of mind to think, how did he think this was ever going to work? He might have thought he was getting away with it from the beginning, but I can guarantee you when this is all said and done, that dude's in trouble. So.
Yeah. Just like my Smash said, you got to file a police report in your own local jurisdiction first, but eBay has to have your information. PWCC has to have your information. Unless you, like you said, fraudulently gave your information, then how did you still get paid? Unless it went into, XYZ, unless it went into Jason's bank account and I stole Jason's credit card, debit card, and went and took money out, then we're even in more trouble. So, there might be a lot of more layers to this than we even know about, but it's just, something that I had no idea about. You messaged me this morning. I went down the rabbit hole, and yeah, it's the power of social media. There's what a couple months ago, social media bullied the guy into taking back a bunch of Mosaic packs to Target that he got, and we're like, oh my goodness, I got this for this deal. Like, you need to take that back. We're the hobby police, but this is actually the hobby police.
Right. One time that hobby police works for good. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Jason? Do you see this at all?
Well, I think the hobby's kind of going crazy if you've got to have an offshore account to stash your laundered funds. But yeah, so PWCC, their initial reaction of like, hey, it has nothing to do with us. Like, that's such a cop out. So I'm glad they finally,
Agreed.
It may not be their fault, but I'm glad they finally just said, okay, until we know what's going on, we got to hold off on this thing. I'm not blaming them for having the card in their vault. They can't control what their guy does. But once they find out about it, they just need to do their homework and figure out what's going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, as a cosigner, I mean, and as big as they are, they have got to know that, selling stolen merchandise is a crime in of itself. And that kind of surprised me. Their initial reaction was like, hey, it's eBay problem. It's not our problem. But thankfully, and obviously they had to, but they came around. But yeah, that initial reaction was a little bit disappointing. Maybe they were doing research on the back end. We don't know what they were doing on the back end, but kind of similar to HGA, maybe their social media reaction was a little tone deaf. I think they probably could have responded to the original complaint in a little bit better manner.
So while we're talking about a company responding in a terrible manner, let's talk about a baseball organization that responded in an outstanding manner. I'm not sure if you guys saw the other night, Freddie Freeman, I believe, hit a home run, hit the ball in the outfield, tossed it out there. Some Phillies fan got the ball. His dad's like, oh, you missed the ball. And he's just joking around. They show it on TV. He goes over and he gives it to another little boy with a Freddie Freeman jersey on. It's a nice feel-good moment. Oh, a little kid did this. The next day, the Braves invite the guy back, the little boy back. He gets to meet Freddie Freeman. I believe Bryce Harper signed a baseball for him. Freddie Freeman signed a baseball for him. It was one of the most heartfelt, heartwarming, great story, great line. A kid's just, helping another kid out. And then, the Atlanta Braves see this and want to help him, for his kindness. Hey, man, we see what you're doing. We see you're doing good things. That's awesome. We want you to know that we appreciate you. And I just thought it was awesome. What are your thoughts, Jay?
I tweeted about it on night one before the Phillies reacted. And I was just like, this is perfect. You've got two sets of fathers and sons at the ball game doing the father-son bonding thing, and that's what I tweeted is like, this is baseball. You got to love baseball. And then that original video, man, it covered all the bases. It showed generosity. It showed true gratitude, and it showed two kids both learning life lessons, obviously from their parents who were guiding them in that direction. And then it was just a baseball moment, it was perfect. But then the Phillies organization, the Braves organization, who was the home team? The Phillies? Yeah. Just trumped it and brought the kid back the next day. Freddie Freeman, one of my favorite players who's a non-red. The guy's he's great. He's obviously, I've seen, videos and tweets and things about what he does off the field, that this does not surprise me that he was involved in this. But what a moment for that kid, and, at the end of the day, I was talking about life lessons. Man, that's karma. And I talk about it all the time. If you do good, it'll be paid back in spades. So that kid, he on his own or with the help of his dad, they together decide to give up this home run ball to someone who would truly appreciate it. And within 24 hours, he gets paid back tenfold. He gets to meet Freddie Freeman. He gets a ball signed by Freddie Freeman. How much more, of a great experience is that for him? And had he not shown that kindness and that generosity to begin with, that would not have happened. So, I'm all about karma. I'm all about, if you do good, it will be paid back to you. And this was just a perfect example of that. Jason, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. And you mentioned before on the PWCC thing about the power of social media and how often it's negative, but I don't know if you guys saw, but right after that happened, the Braves and the Phillies were getting added like crazy. Like, hey, you guys need to do something. Did you see this? So, when it's that much attention is drawn to it, the chances of them doing something for that kid are that much greater. So I think that was a power of social media kind of thing too.
It was awesome. Eric Hecker just said in the chat, it was the best thing that happened in that weekend series. And, absolutely. It was probably, in my opinion, the best thing that happened in sports over the weekend. It was just truly, it was gratifying as a fan to see the whole thing play out.
Especially for me as a dad with a 5-year-old girl who loves Jesse Winker. and who got to go, yell at him and try to talk to him in left field, thanks to the awesome people over at Buck City Breaks on opening day. Seeing things like that and ball players, that could be my daughter one day. And it's just heartwarming to see that happen to other people, because I'm one of those who's genuinely happy for other people. Like if you hit a 1-of-1 Eric Davis Superfractor autograph, I'm not gonna be like, dang man, I wish that was me. Like, oh my God, Che hit his dream card. That is so awesome.
Celebrate other people's successes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
But, since we're celebrating successes, how do we feel about the injuries happening in the NBA? Because we've got James Wiseman, who had all the hype coming out of Memphis. He started off red hot, fizzled, hurt his knee, probably out for the year. We got LaMelo out for the year. We got probably Anthony Edwards looking like rookie of the year. Obi Toppin's doing pretty well, but rookie class, everyone's saying, there's no Zion, there's no Ja. I mean, even RJ's balling out right now. So, but you can literally buy a Zion PSA 10 for less, like 3 times less than a LaMelo PSA 10. He's not even playing right now. So what do you think is attributing to, the injuries in the NBA, especially the rookies, because they didn't really have a college basketball season in 2020, didn't really have much of an off season. Now, like the NBA guys had a really late season. They started later, but these are also grown men. LeBron's been doing this, longer than Moose has been alive. So do you think the off season is a tribute to the injuries, the freak accidents? And also, like, how does that affect the game as a whole? Your 2-star rookies are gone.
Jason, I went first the last couple of times. If you want to go ahead and go first this time.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talk about like the one and dones and stuff like that as if it's still a new thing, and it's not anymore. But these drafts, you really don't know what you're getting anymore. You used to be the first round would be full of 22-year-old guys coming in. You could pretty much project what was going to happen. So when you see these injuries now, especially to guys that are doing well, when there may only be 2 or 3 that are producing in the first year or two, I mean, it's a big deal. And I can tell you for Charlotte, I mean, I'm 50 minutes away from Charlotte, and, they haven't had really much to cheer for a while. So they want to see him healthy. Like that was a big hit for them to have him. And he's been balling out when he's playing. So with the injuries, I'm sure a team like Charlotte's going to take it really slow with a guy like LaMelo, because that's their hopes are on that guy now. Right. So you don't want to push him, this early, but yeah, it always sucks to see that happen when you get, guys like that young and that talented, and they're sitting down.
And see, I see it the same way last year. Like Zion was out at the beginning, and then Ja got hurt. But I feel like last year it was such a bigger deal than this. Maybe just because I'm more jaded this year because of the coronavirus. My kids are older. I'm spending more time with them, less time watching professional basketball. Maybe I just don't care enough. Maybe it's me. I don't know. What do you think, Che?
I mean, I followed the NBA really heavy in the first half of the season. I've got the NBA League Pass. I watched 2 games a night for a couple of months. But after the All-Star break, I have not watched a single game.
You can't watch the Reds.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
sorry,
that's a topic for next week, man. Josh Bell can't watch the Nationals. But
that's hilarious.
I haven't really followed the NBA closely since the All-Star break. Baseball, came back. I've had some other stuff going on in my life, but LaMelo, he really surprised me. And I'll go in. I mean, I'll be honest. I didn't give the kid a fair shake at the beginning of the season based upon his father.
How could you?
All right. And, yeah. And I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, I became a low-key LaMelo fan. I wasn't collecting him, but I wanted to see him do good because, just looking at the way I treated him, and that didn't mean anything to him. He doesn't know how I felt about him. But I was like, man, I didn't give this kid a shot. And he's really good at basketball. He really is. And, the sins of the father should not be held against the son. So I became a low-key LaMelo fan. So I hated to see him get hurt. I don't know if it was necessarily a result of what you were talking about, Chris. It was just, I think it was a freak fall. I mean, he fell on it awkwardly. I don't know if that was necessarily because, he played in Australia last year. He played maybe a longer season. He wasn't he wasn't
I didn't
in
think
the
about
college
that.
basketball, that shortened season, missing the tournament. Wiseman, he missed 3 weeks at the beginning of the season. I don't know if it was a shoulder or wrist, something. I don't know what it was. Now he's tore his meniscus. He came in with a lot of hype. He's the only rookie I've pulled out of the few basketball I've I've opened. I've got 3 of him, no LaMelo. I haven't bought a lot of basketball, but it could be, his body wasn't ready for an 82 game grind. And if we look back, it's been this way for a few years, but it's becoming increasingly more that rookies are counted on to play, heavy minutes every night, especially, the higher draft pick rookies. Zion was on a pretty restricted minutes restriction last year because he was hurt at the beginning of the season. But, you got a rookie who's playing a 40-minute game and 32 games a year, then all of a sudden they're coming in and, they're being asked to start because Golden State, for what they've got their injury bugs. They are slammed by injuries themselves. So Wiseman was like thrown in. We need you, and we need you to play a lot of minutes. We need you to start, and maybe his body just wasn't ready for it. But I don't have a lot to comment on the pricing and how it affects their values as far as cards go because, man, I'll tell you what, for whatever reason, in the last 3 or 4 months, I am like blinders on. I'm like one of Ivan's Zed racehorses. I can't see anything but baseball right now. I haven't bought basketball cards. And I think we're going to talk about this. One of the reasons is the stupid prices of Prism. I have just been solely focused on baseball. So I don't even know what the prices of, I know Zion apparently is on his way back up. He took a dip. But I haven't been following the basketball prices much at all in the last 3 or 4 months.
I'm really glad you said all the things you just said, Che. Because if anybody follows me, they know that I very, very rarely resell any product that I get for a profit. Like I will send it to my buddies at cost plus shipping. I'll open it and then sell stuff. But I got 3 Prism blasters from a Target drop this week.
I saw that.
And they're selling for $150 each. So you know what I turned that into?
Don't open them. Do not open them.
What'd you get?
Well, they're coming on Wednesday, and I'm going to sell them because I bought me a Cody Bellinger PSA 10 high fives. And that's the card I've been chasing for a long, long time because Cody Bellinger he's my guy. Like I collect reds and I collect Carter Kaboom. I got my 1-of-1 Kaboom right here. My buddy Nick Lucchese racked me. But
awesome, Nick.
The high fives is the card that I wanted. So literally, I took, it was like $64 and a whole bunch of luck to get these Prism blasters. But now I can sell them for enough to cover the cost of my PSA 10 high fives. It's probably one of the very few times I'm ever going to do this. But you know what? I did it. Whatever. You can like it. You can hate it. I really don't care. Because at the end of the day, I have a Bellinger high fives out of it, and someone else is going to get these boxes. But you can also see the prices of, retail Prism is crazy. Like Series 1 and Don Russ Baseball, you can just find in the store. Same with Heritage. Any soccer, Hoops basketball is selling for ridiculous, like over 2 times the price. Don Russ basketball, almost 3 times the price of cost of a blaster box. Like I showed my LaMelo over there. I pulled, it was in my PSA pile before they shut down. But I'm going to send that off for what, like $20, $25 whenever they open back up. And that's going to be like a $400 card. It comes back at 10. That's like a $12 card tops. Like it's a Don Russ of LaMelo Ball. It's not a National Treasures. It's like I like Select. It's not a Prism. It's not, it's a retail. It's not even a high-end retail. It's a low-end retail product. And they're going for nuts prices. And that's what we were talking about is, you can buy a LaMelo PSA 10 for over double the price of a Zion. Give me 2 Zion PSA 10s all day over 1 LaMelo. And I get it. Like you said, he's got the hype. He's got his brother. He's got his dad. He's got just everybody knows who he is. But Zion, like LaMelo goes by, LaMelo Ball. No one calls him Zion Williamson. He's just Zion. Like he's like Cher. He's like Prince. He's like LeBron, like LJ, you know, like I'm just rambling on now because I can't get over just the fact that how is LaMelo? I'm done. Someone else talk. Sorry. It's just
Jason,
the prison prices are ridiculous.
Man, I can't even explain. Like it's hard to even have thoughts on, you know, some of these trends that we're seeing and the spikes and then the bottoming out. And it's so much is just, you know, people projecting what they think they can sell it for. So that drives the price up. You know, one guy buys it at 100, the next guy buys it 125. So that guy made $25. That guy's thinking he can sell it. So the thing that I keep saying with this is if there's not a collector at the end of that line that wants to pay for that card at a certain amount, then it's kind of a house of cards. Like you just don't want to be the one caught holding the bag. You know, there's no doubt LaMelo is a good player, but should his rookie card be selling for $300 or $400 when he's 25, 30 games in? I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. But people are buying, projecting, and speculating and hoping that they can pass the hot potato for a small profit, and then the next guy does the same.
You want the
shiny it's crazy. Boy,
right, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Chris, I mean, last year I was the guy saying, give me 2 Jaws instead of 1 Zion. I'm not a Zion fan. You know, I thought Zion was overhyped, and I think the correction that we saw in his pricing kind of backed me up on that. You know, last year when his cards first came out, I was like, there's no way he needs to have a LeBron James, MJ type career to justify these prices. These are unsustainable. And he did fall back a little bit. But when I saw that LaMelo Ball was priced so much more than what Zion was last year, it makes no sense. You know, and I've got 2 local card shops. You know, I say local, I mean, they're within an hour of me. I live in a small town about 45 minutes south of Lexington. But, you know, there are 2 card shops that I patronize in Lexington. And one of them's been around since I was a kid. First card shop I ever visited when I was 14 years old. And I'm in my mid 40s now. That shop's been here almost 40 years. So they've got the distributor hookups that, you know, they are ingrained in the hobby. The other one is just opened within the last 6 months, doesn't have the connections with the distributors, probably can't get the deals that the first one can. But I was in both shops within the last couple of weeks, and the first one, you know, I walked in there. Obviously, there's no Prism basketball to be bought, and I asked the manager. I was like, you know, so I know you got Prism, and they're gone. How did they sell? He's like, sold out in 90 minutes. I was like, well, how much were you selling them for? He said $1,700 a box. So I go across town to the new shop that doesn't have the distributor hookup, who is obviously paying secondary just to get them. And he had some on the shelf, not a lot. And I said, so, you know, I said, I'm not buying. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not buying. But, you know, how are your Prisms selling? He's like, man, they're selling really, really well. He's like, he started telling me some stories about how many he sold that morning and what people pulled. I was like, what's your price on them? He said, $2,300. For a hobby box of basketball with no Zion, you know, no job, you know, it's LaMelo is good, but my goodness, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the price that this has gotten to, and it scares me as a collector. I mean, I am absolutely the nostalgia days of yore. Let me buy my $1.50 J.R. Richard or my $8 Fergie Jenkins. But the reason I've gotten to that point is because of where these prices have gone. Yeah, you got that one and a Rod Carew. I got a mail day coming up. There you go. All right.
Claire Porter, man.
I know, man. She was on fire yesterday morning. But no, it has changed the way I hobby. And I love it, though. I'm having a blast. I'm absolutely having a blast. And if you're out there watching, you know, and you feel priced out, and because this is crazy, don't go buy, you know, if you can find a deal like Chris did at Target, you know, buy them and sell them. Don't open those daggone things, because you will, I mean, in the long run, there is no way you'll get your return on investment if you're paying secondary market, or if you're paying $1,700 to $2,300 a hobby box for these things. So it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. And it's changed the way that I go about this hobby in general. So
Yeah, and if you really want that LaMelo, just go buy the LaMelo.
Go buy the
Like
single.
if that's what you're trying to
Go buy the
get, then
single.
just
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think the whole days of just loving to rip packs is kind of over for most of us, right? At least temporarily, because
Yeah.
I'm not paying any amount close to that just to open. Like that was the fun part, and I'm not complaining. Like it's great that it's thriving. I'm just going to sit it out for a while and just buy the singles that I want, and I'll be content with watching other people bust open those $2,000 boxes.
And that's a great
Absolutely.
point, Jason. I was just thinking about it. I bought a Tyler Stevenson out of, I think, 99 Auto earlier in one of my Twitter chat groups for less money than I bought into an Inception break trying to get that Tyler Stevenson Auto. So I buy into this break and I get a Joey Votto base out of 99. I'm like, all right, whatever. My wife likes Votto. That's cool. It was fun to watch. You know, I enjoy watching breaks, you know, but $30, $35 entertainment. And then someone's like, oh, I got 2 out of 99s. Anybody want one? I'm like, you know, first up, I did. And so I literally bought it for less than I paid to get into the break. So breaks, I mean, yeah, singles are where it's at now. If you like ripping packs, Series 1, Heritage, Don Russ. If you like baseball, you can go find them on a shelf or typically at Target, one of the drops. But we are 46 minutes into this. We got one topic left. Then we always end it with the best thing we saw this week. So, Che, you know, you and Tom do every other Monday when I'm not in here. You've got a charity auction going on. Let's hit on that and tell us about that, Che.
Okay. Tom P. Willis, you know, I think everybody by now knows Tom, funniest man on Twitter, the most influential man on Twitter. He did his Feet Bay auction a couple months ago. Dub Mentality said, "Hey man, why doesn't anybody post their cards on Twitter with the, you know, the arrows down and the snowflake? You know, why is it always the flames and the arrows up?" So Tom, you know, he's like, okay, you know, I'll do it, Dub. So Tom finds a Ronald Acuna, Purple Heritage, you know, listed on eBay, puts his, you know, instead of holding it with his hand, he's holding it with his toes.
I still haven't recovered, by the way.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it was the greatest eBay listing ever. So somehow, you know, this thing goes, I don't want to say viral, but it makes the rounds among the hobby and even to places, you know, to people who weren't necessarily in Tom's original circle. And somehow Lauren Taylor from Topps Project 2020, she sees the tweet. Some guy said, look at this crazy eBay auction. And she's like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. From that, Tom responds and she responds. And, you know, now they're best friends. I mean, they are Tom and Lauren are like this. So Lauren says, hey, you know, why don't you flip one of my cards? So Tom's like, okay, I'll do it. So he decided he was going to get her Aaron Judge Topps Project 70, and he was going to do one of his Feet Bay auctions and sell it. And she's big into mental health awareness, mental health charities. So he was going to get one of those, and he was going to sell it on eBay and put the proceeds toward a mental health charity. But along the way, while talking with Lauren and then talking with me, she says, hey, you know, let's go bigger. Let's do something a little bit bigger than just that one card. So, you know, I said, well, hey, I'll donate something. So I'm donating, I got it right here. I got this Mike Trout, Blake Jameson autographed red Project 2020. It's numbered at 249. So I said, I'll donate that. You know, we'll auction that off and I'll put that toward charity. And then Chris, you know, you're gonna donate something. You're gonna have Cooper and Claire do some of their art cards to donate to it. And then just a couple of days ago, Lauren came in and said, you know what? Let's go big. Let's go big or go home. She said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do one of my prints that's a dual auto where I've autographed it and the athlete has autographed it. And I'll tell you what, I won't even do, you got to buy this one. I'll let the person bid. And then once they bid, I'll have a few different ones that they can choose, who they want. And I mean, I went to her website. And that's a pretty valuable auction item. I've reached out. I got a couple of feelers out. for some people to donate, that I think might donate some pretty cool items. So what turned into something that Tom might end up being able to donate $20 to a mental health charity. We're looking at something pretty big right now. So we're shooting for mid-May. We got to get the logistics, down. We want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to donate who donates. We've got Eric Hecker watching tonight. He's got his Rippin' for the Cure thing going. We don't want to step on those toes at all. This was kind of unplanned. It was organic. It just kind of happened. Tom and Lauren were talking. He was making her laugh. Surprise, Tom's making somebody laugh on Twitter. And it just kind of grew from there. So I'm really excited about it. I haven't done any. Tom gets all the credit for this. He's the one who started this. He's the one who talked to Lauren. He's the one she likes. So he gets all the credit, but I am going to create on my website, iansportscards.com. I'll dedicate a section. I'm creating a page right now, that has all the details of what we've gathered so far, what we're going to auction off. It'll have the details on how you can donate, a card or an item if you want to donate it. But we're looking at mid-May. We're really, really excited about it. We've chosen the Jed Foundation, which that charity, we were trying to find a mental health charity that we thought that would be worthwhile. And the Jed Foundation focuses on mental health issues for young adults, teens, and preteens. And their main focus is suicide prevention. So we researched them. They're a 4-star charity, like a 97% rating on all the charity, the charity watchdog groups. So they are legit. I've got an 11-year-old and a 10-year-old that are getting ready to go into middle school. I know that and with all the COVID things, I know mental health is a huge thing for children of that age at this point in time. So that one is near and dear to my heart. So that's what we've gone with. But, I'm the one talking tonight. Tom is the man responsible for this. He and Lauren came up with this. I'm just along for the ride and trying to help in any way I can. And Tom and I's next show, we're going to dedicate the entire show to more and more details about this. So I won't take up any more of your show's time, Chris. But Tom and I, our next show, that we'll talk in depth about it. But thank you for bringing it up. I appreciate it.
Awesome. I mean, if we were allowed to say that one of us was the best thing we've seen all week, but that's our rule. We can't do that. That would be it. So, Jason, unless you've got anything else to round us out. Actually, you know what? I got 2 things for you, Jason. Questions that were asked in the comments.
Okay.
Smash want to know the price range for your boxes.
Yeah, so it varies quite a bit because it's all based on time, right? So some of the logos we do are way more complex than others. So they can range anywhere from $65 to $95 on the high end. There's just a lot of variance depending on the logo you choose.
And then also Buckeye Cardnut said he's been following you for a long time, has a bunch of Baker Mayfield prisms, and I think we might have a sale for you tonight. So
let's do it.
So all right. So if you don't have anything else to add, we'll go on to the best thing we saw all week. I know I got to put my daughter to bed 2 minutes ago, so I'll go ahead and start then. Best thing I saw on Twitter this week, Card Collector 2, Ryan. He's local here in Columbus. Like I live in a northern suburb of Columbus, Ohio. He's on the south side, and that's where his shop's at. He's doing a giveaway. Like he's got a new spot opening up. He gives away so much stuff. Like if you didn't see his Toys for Tots charity auction, I mean, he had like 4 U-Hauls worth of toys to donate to Toys for Tots. So guy is just a great human being. Says he's got a blaster of basketball. I think it was Don Russ, might have been hoops. I'm not exactly sure. Like, who should I give this to? And if you're not aware, T-Murph, Tyler Murphy, he and his wife are going to have a child soon. I believe she's due next month. I'm not exactly sure the exact date, but some people start talking to him. He's like, you know what? I'm going to give it to, I'm not going to use her name because I think she's pretty private. So I'm going to refer to her as his wife, and that's no way derogatory. Just, I don't know how private she is to use her actual name. So he says, I'm going to give it to them. for their child. It's going to be their first, box. I know Mr. K Dub, every time they have a kid, he's got like 9 of them now. They get a blaster for when they get home. So I'm just kidding. He's got 3, but that's their thing. They get a blaster for when they get home and they rip it as a family. And that's their thing. So Ryan donated this blaster to the baby. So when it comes, I don't know if they're going to keep it and they can, open it in like 5 years, or they're going to rip it and the cards will go there. But it was just like a celebration thing. Like, hey, you two, Tyler and his wife, you're awesome hobby people. She's very involved in the hobby too. If you're not following her, you should be. But again, I'm not going to give out her information. But that was just awesome thing I saw this week, and it was just so heartwarming as a person with kids. And people give stuff to my kids all the time, like D Moose, him and Ross Shelton. Just sent my son Cooper a Cooper Cup relic that he got in the mail today for his birthday. When you give stuff to kids, it's heartwarming, and it was awesome, and it was the best thing I saw today. Jason, you're up.
Yeah, so mine was off of Twitter, but I love stories like this. I don't know if you guys saw Brent Honeywell for the Rays, who was a top prospect, like top prospect 4 or 5 years ago. He's had 4 surgeries on his arm, kind of wrote him off, and he made his debut with the Rays after 4 years. Removed from being on that top prospects list, and he threw 2 scoreless innings, sat down all 6 guys. And, anytime you see that, like, you can imagine what it would be like to be that guy so close to your dream and then just get derailed by injuries. And, he may or may not have a long career still, but he can always say, hey, I got to come up. I got to make my debut against the Yankees. I struck out Giancarlo Stanton. Like, can't take that from him now. So that was mine. That always stands out to me when I see something like that.
That's awesome. I hadn't seen that, but you're right. I mean, nobody can ever take that away from him, so that's awesome. Mine is borderline breaking our rule. We can't do one about each other. But mine happened kind of like you, Jason, off of Twitter, but it's about somebody in hobby Twitter. Friday, I picked my 2 sons up from school, and I was going to have him for the weekend. Today's my 11-year-old's birthday. He turned 11 today. And I decided I would go by Jimmy's shop, Kentucky Roadshow shop here in Lexington, and let him pick out a couple Pokemon packs, because you can't find them. You can't even, we talked about Prism and all that. You cannot find a Pokemon pack in Target or Walmart either. So I knew Jimmy had some. So we went to Jimmy's Kentucky Roadshow, and I told Noah, I said, pick you out four or five packs. And I was talking to the manager, and it just kind of came up that Noah's birthday was today. And Trey, the manager's like, you like Pokemon, Noah? And I was like, yeah, I love it. So you can't really see it here, but this is like an enormous, and I don't know Pokemon that well, but this is like an Urshifu VMAX. Apparently that's good. I'm told that's good, but it's almost like a Sportflix type card. It's got 2 different pictures on it. And he's like, he gave him that. He gave him a poster. He just went out of his way, we didn't ask for it. He's just like, oh, it's your birthday. Let me give you something. And I bring that up because I met Zach and Anna. Zach is the Bearded Baptist. Anna is his wife. They were in Lexington 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we wanted to meet each other and just have a conversation. So we decided to meet at Jimmy's shop because I'm into cards. They're into cards. That's a perfect place to meet. While we're there, Jimmy comes out of the back and he starts talking to us. And then about 10 minutes into the conversation, he realizes that, hey, this is the Bearded Baptist and his wife. You all drove all the way from Knoxville. You're a Tennessee fan. Who do you like? And Zach's like, man, I like Admiral Schofield. And Jimmy's like, be right back. So he runs to the back and he comes out with a flawless RPA autograph numbered to 99 Admiral Schofield. He's like, thank you so much for coming to see me. I appreciate you so much. Please take this home with you as a token of my gratitude for just coming to see me. So, and if you see Jimmy, you see his videos. He gave the kid the Giannis basketball that went viral.
That was
and,
awesome.
The Bucks sent him that care package. That's not an act, man. That man, he pulled that Zion 1 of 1 last year, the Zion and RJ dual auto 1 of 1. He sold that card and donated every penny to a children's home in North Carolina. So if you don't follow Kentucky Cards on Twitter, that man is legit. He gives for the love of giving, and he's got a shop here in Lexington. It's the website is KentuckyRoadshowShop.com, He's amazing. I encourage you to follow him and check out his shop if you're looking for singles or something like that. He's a great person, and he's a true asset to this hobby. So that's it.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to end up meeting you one day, Che. It's either at a Reds
absolutely.
game or down there. Because my wife's already talked about, next time we go to Cincinnati, we're just going to keep on going down to Lexington and check out the shop. So,
absolutely.
We're over an hour here, so we had a great time tonight. Jason, thank you so much from Carolina Card Exchange for joining us.
Thanks,
if you
Jason.
guys need those boxes, let me show mine again and how beautiful it is. That's my Cincinnati Reds one with my ring light right in the middle of it.
And they're hard to get on video.
Yeah,
it's hard to get on video, but if you're rewatching this, you can see I posted a bunch of pictures of the awesomeness, and he has so many of them on the Twitter. He and Chuck do that together. And just thank you so much for joining our show. And Che, it's always a pleasure having you on.
Likewise, brother.
Take us home, Che. Say goodbye.
I was going to say, I end my show with "Take Us Home, Chris," and that is Chris singing. So I was like, dude, I'm not going to sing, or I don't have the pipes you've got. No, man. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We've been over an hour. If you're still here, God bless you. We certainly appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to spend with us, and we hope to see you again in a couple of weeks. So, peace and love. Love you guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right, goal line. We out.